I'm Wilson Acton, the Chief Commercial Officer at Verge.
Looking at Canada in general, what are some of its competitive advantages for attracting foreign direct investment, in your opinion? And what areas do you think we could improve to strengthen our investment potential?
It's a great question. And I think Canada has a lot of strengths, and which is why we've been successful over the years. We're well accepted in the global community when we think about the web of different treaties and legal implications that allow capital to flow across borders with some level of certainty. We're known as a region with a strong rule of law and framework in that respect. And all of those, I think, are very strong components of why Canada continues to be and can be a home for capital globally.
And looking at Calgary specifically, what are some of the city's strengths that come to mind when attracting foreign direct investment?
Well, Calgary has always been very entrepreneurial. I'm originally from Saskatchewan, so further east on the prairies, and we always looked at Alberta and Calgary as a very entrepreneurial ecosystem, which is very supportive of growing companies and people who want to make their own dream, so to speak. That underlying foundational skill set is what allowed Calgary to build itself into a global energy powerhouse. And I think it's that same trait that will allow us to continue to build in a number of sectors, whether that's agriculture or technology, energy of tomorrow, robotics, and so on.
What would you say to anybody outside of Calgary and Alberta who consider the city and by extension the region as just all about oil and gas?
It's a common conception that we get about Calgary is all it is oil and gas. In reality, there is so much that's happening in this city and has been for a lot of years. It's easy to think about oil and gas. It's a bit of the big brother in the room. But this is a region that is also very rich agriculturally. We are home to some massive companies, organizations. We're home to innovators in agriculture. We've got a growing technology scene across all sorts of things, whether that's world leading artificial intelligence, machine learning, across a whole host of sectors, among other things. We also are home to some of the biggest renewable energy companies in the world, which a lot of people don't think of when they think of oil and gas.
How would you describe Canada's agriculture industry, and what areas of the industry do you think make it most attractive for companies to look at investing?
Canada has, for generations, been an absolute world leader in agriculture. Everything from plant breeding and genetics to improved practices. No till, zero till. So when we think about ways to operate and have less impact on the soils, treat the soils better, a lot of those practices and ways of thinking and associated technologies have come out of Western Canada, and that was born out of need with low rainfall seasons and high wind erosion, etc. So we've led the way. Canola, which is a product that now we think of just as part of our everyday life with canola oil and a healthy oil alternative. Canola stands for Canada's oil. This was a product that has been bred and born in Western Canada in the post-World War II era. So, there's a lot of things going on here, and Canada's continued to position itself as a world leader in agriculture. And going forward, I think it continued to do so. It will. You think about things like plant-based proteins and Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat burgers and these types of things. This is an exploding area globally as the world's population needs to consume more protein, but also looking at where that protein comes from. We joke in our business that that the plant-based protein burgers that are on the market they should call them Western Canada burgers, because they're essentially everything we produce here, from salt to peas and lentils, and, a number of other canola oil. Those are the main ingredients that are going into these products and blended up. When we look at autonomous technologies coming to the farm, and across the supply chain, how can we use better technology and robotics? Western Canada, and Canada in particular, is leading. Indoor farming is a big push right now globally, particularly with COVID, when we think about how can we produce our food closer to where we consume it because of supply chain disruptions that we've seen. With that comes traceability. These are all areas that are really interesting right now. They're developing really quickly all over the world. And Canada is on the forefront of and can continue to be so.
Are we seeing foreign direct investment in Canada, and perhaps specifically in Alberta's agriculture sector? If so, in which areas? Talk us a little bit through that.
In our sector, which is agriculture technologies, we're still seeing capital being deployed. In fact, if anything, we're almost seeing more interest in Canada. And some of that's because of the things that we're doing here. Now, that being said, those are small capital dollars relative to, a massive energy infrastructure project or these types of things. But those are dollars that also create jobs, and get things going. And it, it's almost a breadcrumb situation in that, a little bit, well, then there's a follow on, of a larger round, and so on and so forth. And so that continues to spool up, which is tremendously exciting. I mentioned, lots of tailwinds in agriculture around things like plant-based proteins. Another area we didn't mention is biologicals. So how can we use kind of natural herbicides, pesticides, to control things that we've previously used artificial chemicals with? And so, these are areas where we're seeing a lot of interest, and so capital is flowing.
What about the availability of talent around agriculture and specifically Agtech in Calgary right now?
What's interesting is, Calgary has very deep talent resources that have been built by our energy industry, over years, whether it's data analytics or project management, these types of things. There's a lot of that talent pool here. So retooling and refocusing that talent to be deployed into other industries, and whether that's agriculture or some of the work that's happening around robotics and warehousing, supply chain management technology that's happening. There's lots of companies doing very interesting things. And so redeploying that talent base, I think, is exceptional. And as I mentioned, project management, for example, Calgary is a world leader in project management. We have to be. We built the oil sands. And so this is a tremendous opportunity, for us.
What about the cost and ease of doing business in Calgary, and also the supportive environment for new investments to the region?
The cost of doing business in Calgary, they seem to be ever evolving. And part of that is, unfortunately, some of the kind of macro headwinds that the city is facing. The knock-on benefits is that can have some benefits for companies like ours as we're continuing to try and scale and grow rapidly. One of the things that we wrestle with is right-sizing office space, for example, to a team that's doubling or more on a year-over-year basis. That's really hard to plan through a traditional, 5 to 7 to 10 year, office space lease environment. But the flip side is people are looking at it differently now, and so there's different options. There's different ways to look at it. Unfortunately for some, fortunate for others, there's a lot of sublease space available. And so that creates an ability to meet the demand in the market for companies like ours, for example. Those types of opportunities. There's also a lot of interest in, different supporters, whether it's banking relationships, professional services relationships, to build up, other groups in the region and other sectors and focuses. And as a result, they're very supportive. We've got great relationships with big accounting firms, big law firms, which are all things that we need to make sure that we're scaling and growing in the right way and we're not making a mess down the road. But, in a traditional model, those could be really difficult bills to try and manage when we're also growing so rapidly. And so working with them in true kind of partnership style, I think is is something that we're able to do, and a great positive for the Calgary ecosystem, because you have a tremendous amount of skill that's been developed over the years that now can be redeployed to really accelerate these other areas.
What would be your pitch, either or both, to investors looking at Calgary and considering their next move there, or frankly to Canadians looking to Calgary and also thinking about the importance of foreign investment to Canada's overall economy?
I would say, don't bet against Canadians. Look at what we've done globally across all sorts of things, whether that's, space programs, agriculture, energy, banking, finance. We've got a tremendous track record, and I think we'll continue to build on that. So, if we as Canadians are working together, we can do some pretty awesome things, and look forward to doing that also with our international counterparts.